Pamela Becker, thank you so much for being with me on 20-Minute Leaders.
Well, thank you for having me.
So good to have you.
Very
Where are you
excited to
calling
be
from?
here. I'm in Tel Aviv.
In Tel
I'm
Aviv.
working from home. I'm one of those working from home people,
Oh,
forced by Corona. Yes.
one of the hundreds of millions.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay, so Pamela, a huge history of marketing at amazing companies, uh, just notably Iron Source, now Prove, many others along the way. You authored a book, a very successful book. You founded a charity. Um, Talk to me a little bit about your journey so far, and talk to me a little bit about marketing. Let's start over there. What is it about marketing that attracted you, and how do you see your role as VP of marketing of a company like Prove?
Well, okay, so I guess where did I start off? About a million years ago when I graduated college with a degree in creative writing. To me, it's all about storytelling. I love writing
Yeah.
stories. And I was really good. I wrote 5 short stories that got published in magazines that were reputable, and I earned a total of $25. So I then realized I was going to have to, if I didn't want to be, if I wanted to eat, I was going to have to find a way to take that storytelling love of mine and find a new way to express it. And that is one of the reasons why I went into marketing. I started in public relations, moved to advertising, and then
Right.
became either the in-house or outsourced marketing director of, like you said, a lot of Israeli
Yeah.
leading tech companies, particularly in the whole ad tech and fintech space.
Right.
So to me, it's all about the story. When I enter a new company, I try and understand what is their story, how do we frame that story, what is the story, and sometimes the company story is not really a great story. Sometimes we have to kind of think about what is the story we want to tell.
What do you wait,
So,
time out. What do you do? What do you do at that point? You enter a company and you're like, guys, listen, this is not a great story. Let's reinvent it. Let's rethink how we portray ourselves.
you know what? You would be surprised at how much resistance there is.
I'm sure.
Generally, there's a lot of resistance. There's like, but this is who I am. And there's that whole conversation about, do you tell people what you want to say, or do you tell people what they're open to hear? And that's really a
Fascinating.
real mind switch. And and a lot of executives that I've worked with in the past, it takes some time for them to get used to the idea of, wait a minute, but I have to tell them this, and I forgot to tell them, and they go on and on about something that even their business partners are like taking a nap by the time they're done.
I think that's fascinating.
So
I actually just yesterday I had a class at the Stanford Business School where we were talking about Frank Lutz. I don't know if you know him, but he invented something called the Word Lab, where he helped political candidates for presidency in the US. He would take focus groups and he would start saying phrases and he would measure their heart rate and their eye rolling as he said certain words, because he discovered that politicians shouldn't say what they think people want to hear. They should say really what people want to hear, not what they want to say. So really
right.
along the same lines. I love all these connections. Okay, so you go to these companies and you're reinventing the story. What is talk to me about the connection between the creative writing in college or writing stories in general and going to do marketing, because it's not exactly the same thing, right?
Yes and no, because listen, if you're a frustrated artist as I was, you do need that kind of outlet. Yes, Mom, I'm not good enough to make it as a professional writer, but look, I have a career. Look, and I'm not saying, oh, I write beautiful copy just to make my heart better, do you know what I mean, to serve myself. But there is something, and I think that as a creative person and as a marketing person, and then also we talked about I have a charity as well, it's all
Yeah.
about impact. And so for me, it's not just about telling the story, but you want to tell a story that has some kind of impact or effect, whether it's making the business go from here to here, or from changing people's minds from here to here, or just kind of touching them in a way that they haven't been touched before. So to me, that
Huh.
is that it's all kind of the same.
So, and how does that thinking of impact go coincide with, fintech and adtech? Because, usually fintech and adtech aren't necessarily the most humane, impactful industries. I would imagine more education, healthcare. So how do you find the balance over there?
Okay. So I didn't say that it was necessarily an impact to making the world a better place. I didn't say
Okay.
that that was the impact.
Well, that
I
you're doing through
said,
your charity.
yeah, we all, we do what we can, when we can, and where we can. And when I'm in a business environment, the impact I may want to make is helping this company become more competitive, make sure that they are the company, if it's very competitive, not just to get clients, but to get employees, how to position themselves. And again, we talked about
Totally.
storytelling and having that impact in terms of, impacting how other potential partners, clients and investors feel about them.
No, I love it. But
So
actually, Pamela, you are trying to make the world a better place, and you are making an impact through your charity, which is complementary then to your work in marketing. So talk to me a little bit about this charity and also about this book that you wrote.
okay, so Jeremy Circle is a nonprofit. What we do is we support children and teenagers who are growing up in homes that have been touched by cancer. And what we mean by that is they're children that either there's a parent or a sibling that has cancer now, or that they've experienced a cancer loss. I co-founded Jeremy Circle, that's the name, 12 years ago with my late husband's sisters. I'm sad to say that Jeremy was my husband, and it came about because when he was first diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, our children, we had 3 children, 6 months, 4 and 6, I believe. And you're freezing. Can you hear me?
I'm with you. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
says you're with me. So, okay. So when he was first diagnosed, our children, we had 3 children. One was 6 months. I believe one was 4, one was 6. And we were really, I mean, my husband was a very special guy, and he would talk about how lucky we were. I didn't feel so lucky, but he felt lucky, that we had these friends and family that would support us in a way, by taking our children out so that we could have some quiet time. They would take our children out. Instead of them being stuck in front of a TV at home or me yelling at them, which is probably what would have happened, they took them to barbecues or on hikes or did whatever they would have done with their own kids. And that was basically how
Wow.
most of our weekends went during his entire illness. So afterwards, we founded Jeremy Circle, which now supports 700 families throughout Israel.
700 families.
700 young families. We have
Wow.
programs, we do fun days for the families, and we do programming just for the teenagers, because we know that, parents are uncool when you're a teenager, and so it's more fun when the parents don't come. So that's what we do, and that's Jeremy Circle. Yes.
Wow. So that was 12 years ago, and so you're working full time in marketing, and you have 3 children, and this horrible illness comes and takes over. How do you even deal with that? I mean, it sounds, and I'm very fortunate to not have gone through a tragic experience myself of that sort, and I'm sorry for your loss. But it sounds like a lot of people either get a lot of resilience from it and a lot of inspiration to go and do something about it, like you did, and some others don't, and they rather, just continue with their life and go along. Talk to me a little bit about this time period and what's going through your head, and how does this idea of Jeremy Circles come about?
I deal with things is I do stuff. Some people, when they're
I'm
in
sorry,
a
Pamela,
stressful, yes.
I lost you for that one sentence. Can you just start that one over?
Okay, so I guess I'm one of those people that the way I cope is I do stuff. Some people, they want to, just let me be, or take me someplace else. But for me, I have this motto, that helping is healing. And I guess, I mean, we had talked earlier, we had talked at some point about reinventing, the importance of reinvention and reinventing yourself.
Yes.
And I found often when my husband was sick, and it was no secret, right? And people would look at me, here I am with an infant and going into the oncology ward with my husband in a wheelchair. I got those looks, and I hated those looks. And for me, one of the things that one of the ways I coped was changing the subject, which is a lot of, if you go back to marketing, with crisis management, that's another thing that you do. But for me, it was all about changing the subject. So when he was his sickest, I would just be like, oh, I'm running a marathon. I ran X amount of kilometers today. And they'd be like, and I just didn't want to deal with those looks. I didn't want to deal with people feeling sorry for me. And so when after when he was at his sickest, it was a few weeks before he died, we were in the hospital, and he talked about that maybe we should create this organization. And we sat down and started, and again,
Wow.
he was also one of these people that does things. We sat down in the hospital, and instead of being like moaning, oh, woe is me, I feel so sorry for myself, which other people in his position had all the right to do.
Of course.
But instead, we sat there in the hospital and wrote a business plan and put together a program together with his sister. He has a sister who has, she is a psychologist, and a sister who is a computer specialist. And we put together a plan, and it kind of just kept things on a level that we could express all our pain and our frustration, but in a positive way, and put it in a positive direction. And then after he passed away, people started asking me, oh, I want to plant a tree in his name. What is his favorite charity? And I said, you know what, we're just going to start this. We're going to try and do it.
Wow.
And so we found someone to help us with the paperwork, so we would have a place where people could give donations.
Yeah.
And we just started. Our first event had 25 families, and I'll tell you, at that first event, which was a Hanukkah event, it was in December of 2008. So he passed away in July, so it was not that long after he died. And these children are playing, they're in these sumo wrestler outfits. When you put these little children in these big funny outfits, and they do this to each other. I don't know. And and I'm watching, and it's so funny. And we've got like the DJ that came as a volunteer, and the music's going, and it's a great event. And the mother is standing there, and she's crying. And she says to me, and I said to her, why are you crying? And she goes, this is the first time that I've seen him let loose and have fun in months. And we understood then that there was something about getting these kids together, that they're all in these very stressful situations, but when they get together, and they know that the other kids are in the same situation, and if one's having fun, then it almost gives the other one permission to have fun. And it was
right.
And it was one of those things, like we were like, you know what, this can't be a one-off. We have to keep doing that. And that was 12 years ago.
Unbelievable. So 12 years ago, you started with 25 families, and now you have over, you said 700 families in this network that are going to these Jeremy's Circles events.
Yes, but again, like I said, we're always thinking like as a marketing person, as a as anyone, we have to reinvent ourselves. This year, what are we going to do? We can't invite 300 children who all come from families that are whatever it is, suppressed, immune suppressed. We can't put them in a closed space together.
Of course.
So we've been reinventing ourselves. We've been sending what we call fun kits to the families with all sorts of games and puzzles and jump ropes and whatever. And we are now planning for the summer. What should we do? Because we have to, it's an evolution. Who we will be in 2021 is very different than who we were in 2019.
Oh, 100%. And you touched upon this a few times now, but this idea of reinventing yourself and constantly thinking, okay, innovation is not just in the aspect of business, but it's also in the aspect of our personal lives. And constantly, as we go through struggle and adversity and world adversity, we have to continue thinking and innovating. How do you surround yourself with this sort of creativity and this inspiration to go and do that? Because sometimes you have to do it alone, which is very, very hard.
I think it's just a question of, I don't know, I think it was Brad Pitt who very, very succinctly said in the classic World War Z, he said, you have to keep moving or die,
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that if we don't keep moving, if we don't keep evolving, if we don't keep changing, A, it may be a little boring, and B,
yeah.
we stop growing. We stop, who wants to be the same person they were 5 years ago? I certainly don't,
Definitely.
So I do think we have to constantly look like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Even as, I'm pretty old, but I'm still asking it.
100%, 100%. So, you are a marketing expert, and while talking about Jeremy's Circles was so much more fascinating than I think anything we could say about anything business related. But anyways, tell me one or two earned secrets that you've earned over the years about marketing as you approach these new marketing challenges, which are new constantly. What are some of the key things that you feel like you've earned, on your skin, as you had skin in the game over the years?
I think, like I said, just like with anything else in life, I think there is tremendous value in changing the subject. I don't know if it's in marketing. I don't know if it's in a meeting. I don't know if it's in a press release. But if someone is talking about something that you don't want to talk about what you want to talk about. Just change the subject. You're in charge, move the conversation. And I think that this is something in marketing that is so important. You decide. If somebody keeps saying to you, but why is it raining? And you're like, but look at the sea. And they're like, but why is it raining? And you say, but the sea is gorgeous. They're going to eventually understand. They're going to leave that conversation and be like, let's go to the beach. You know what I mean? So definitely. I think that sometimes, the most important thing that I learned first as a PR professional and then in high tech and building these marketing plans and so on and so forth is that if you want to you have to take charge of the conversation too. It's not just changing the subject when it doesn't suit you, but take charge of it, And
No, definitely. Yeah.
And there are certain tricks to that. There are certain tricks, and like focusing on one clear message and doing it over and over again. Reinvention. It's all about reinvent. See, I just did it. So, that kind of taking charge of the conversation, understanding that it's better to get one good, strong idea across well, and then reinforcing it, than trying to throw a whole bunch of different things at people and expect them to remember after they've eaten dinner and then their kid jumped on their head and then, something broke.
100%. And now, as you're saying this, I keep thinking about, the daily press releases that we have here in the United States with the government and some of these tactics that we're seeing employers. So it's interesting to see that, and I think I'm going to start using some of these with my own girlfriend. So I'll report back to how things went when she's upset with me and changing the conversation.
Okay. Okay.
Pamela, right
exactly.
before we leave.
Just tell. Okay.
No, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
No, okay, but no, I'm not getting involved between you and your girlfriend. I've decided against it.
Why? Now
I'm going to stay right here. I'm staying right here.
Now, if something bad happens, I can just say, but Pamela told me so. She's an expert in marketing.
And then you say, you're not selling me anything, honey. We're partners.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I love it. Okay, Pamela, right before we go, I need 3 words that best describe you. I'm especially curious to hear your take on this. 3 words that you would either describe yourself or that your kids would describe you as, or your coworkers, or Jeremy's sisters.
Okay, we're going to go back to that reinvention.
Love it.
We're going to say storyteller. We didn't talk about my book, but storyteller. And as my third, it's hard. I would say giving.
I love it. I love it. By the way, Pamela, did that book make more than $25?
It did make more than $25, but it did not make more than what I spent at the when I made a little party at my house to celebrate. So I don't know how we break even, but
we'll call it a great success. We'll call it a nice closure to the university times.
It's a huge success. Huge. Go buy it now. Okay.
There you go. All right, Pamela, thank you so much for the inspiration. Really amazing stuff all across the board. And I can't wait to share this with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.